that is
Living in the
buying a
future.
pair of shoes for the sake of people knowing you have those shoes. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Or so I would kind of boil that down to like, okay, so like the Panda Dunks, like this is like the worst shoe I've ever fucking seen in my life. That isn't fashion. Like, I wouldn't like one of the rules that I have on for Archive Human is we don't know, like we don't interview people
With
that
pandas.
are wearing those. Like and like put that on. I'll put that on the record. Like absolutely, like we don't. And the reason why is because that's not fashion. Like that's putting on some shit that you don't necessarily like. Or no, it's kind of like this idea of like, do you really like what you like, or do you like how it was presented to you? You know what
Right.
I mean?
What's good, man?
What's it good? It's been a minute, bro. It's been a minute. It hasn't been too long, thank God. But
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking about coming out back out there again.
bro, where is this space? Like, where have you built this in? Like, where it looks so dope.
It,
It looks like a lot of production there.
it's in my basement, bro.
Oh, see, we don't got basements in Arizona. The
Yeah.
the ground's too hard.
Yeah.
That's like foreign to us.
That's crazy. I figured like somebody can make it happen, an underground bunker or some shit like that, and it would have to be in Arizona because I don't know. I feel like the west side of the world would be the first area of the world that would get like a nuclear strike. I don't know. I don't know why I think
Oh,
that.
I
Closer to
mean,
Russia.
yeah, exactly right. I'm actually convinced that like LA is gonna get hit by some shit. Unfortunately, like I hate to say it, but I don't know. I just feel like LA is gonna get hit with some shit, and it's gonna break off the side of the earth. I mean, the side of the United States,
Yeah.
float away. But
Yeah, the reason why I brought you on, man, like I noticed you've been posting some clips on IG, some Archive Human, and it seemed like something new that you were broadcasting out, and it looked super interesting, but very vague. I don't know which direction you were going with, and so I was gonna ask you to like kind of give me a hit, like tell me a little bit about Archived Human, and I guess like what's your vision?
okay, so archived human is just my way of documenting what's going on in the scene of Arizona for right now, at least, um, in a way that is curated. And basically, I want Archived Human to be a curated source of information. So all the information there has been curated to specific niche. You know what I mean? And right now we're starting with more of like the fit checks and really just going to these events that are. So the first one that we went to was, and this is all yet to be released, but the first one that we went to was a magazine release. So it's really cool because like you would never think that like there's a group of people in Phoenix, like some kind of like I would borderline say like alternative kind of like hipster esque group of people that came out with the whole magazine like paperback like
Yeah.
frill glossy paper all that like it was cool. It was like a solid like six. It was like a solid like 50 pages, and they they ended up getting like a whole gallery rented out, and they had like a little coffee bar in the shit. It was so cool with like three, four, five different DJs, and what's it called? I really that was something that I wanted to get documented because you go to to know about that event, to be kind of in the loop, you would have to be a part of this extremely niche like wavelength in the city
Okay.
where you ask anybody else that just kind of like doesn't partake in things like that, and they're gonna tell you that AZ is boring and that there's nothing going on,
Right.
and that people don't be doing shit. So like I think that there's like a weird beauty in that. Like it's almost like hidden,
Yeah.
but it's actually very very well known and supported with the people that are kind of tapped into this like um, this wavelength, as well as Arizona is a very unique place. I meet people. I just met this. I met the homie. His name's Kyle. He's a photographer. He just moved here a couple months ago, and I'm telling him, I'm like, Arizona is the land of opportunity, and the reason why Arizona is the land of opportunity is because the content creator or the creator to consumer ratio in Arizona is very like small. Like it's very like I'm talking like you got like 78% consumer, and then what is that? It's like 22% creator.
Right.
So out here, it was easy for me to just get into the whole art, to get into the scene and start making clothes. It was easy to have a brand and start doing things. It was easy because nobody was really doing it in that way when social media was like really like starting to reach that rising action kind of feeling, you know?
Yeah.
And the reason why it kind of was like easy was because people out here, they'll rock with you just for having the courage to go do that shit. You know what I mean? Because there's just Arizona's just not a place like that. Whereas you go to LA and like the ratio is like you got your creators are like there's like it's like almost split. It's like 50% creators,
Right.
50% consumers, you know? So to kind of circle back to what I said before, the average person that doesn't partake in these sort of events or just to like they're gonna tell you that Arizona like not shit's going on, you know?
Yeah.
I think it is under a rock. This scene, it is under a rock. But like I'm the person that's like lifting the rock up, and for a long time, it wasn't being documented in a way because Archive Human is for everybody. I'm not over here just fucking with the cool people. I'm not over here just trying to get in like to this, that, and the third. Archive Human is for everybody. So like before it was just okay, you throw something and then you got your video people there and then you post it up on your shit and people that already fuck with you. But Archive Human is more of a place for everyone to meet and then see what's going on in their city, like what's going on.
Right.
It is curated to specific things though. We're only really gonna cover fashion, music, culture as a whole. I know like we have this idea. I'll drop the idea on the cast right now. I'll drop the idea that we're gonna have. So I just found out that I work like right next to the McLaren dealership,
Yeah.
and this McLaren dealership is so hidden. It's so hidden. It's so crazy how hidden it is. Like every other dealership, there's like 7 of them on one road, and they're all in the front of the road. You know,
Right.
right off the sidewalk. You see it when you're driving by. The McLaren dealership is literally it's like in the middle of a business park that you would have to like drive into it to even see the sign. There's no sign. There's no indicators. So I just come across it and I'm like, cool. They in this McLaren dealership they do this thing called Cars and Coffee every Saturday morning
Yeah.
where they basically invite people, they invite photographers, they invite everybody to just pull up and peep some supercars, like 50 of them, 70 of them. There's so many, and they do it every Saturday. So like our next endeavor is to pull up. So like that is I have a team of people. I have a team, and we're all kind of into different things a little bit, but it all kind of circles back to one, just Archive teaming. So we want to like go there and check out these like supercars, and also Archive Human is like I think what I really wanted it to be was very very like luxury feeling, like,
Right.
and that's why we're and to maintain that like to maintain that cordialness because that's what I'm really trying to convey is a cordial um, energy, you know,
Yeah.
to really maintain that. We're not going to Scottsdale. We're not going to the Tempe's, the old towns, and the clubs and stuff. We're not doing any of that. Because that it's done. It's been done. They do it all the time. I don't want to be the guy asking girls what's their body count.
Body
You know
count.
what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. That shit like fizzles out. That shit lasts for 2 months. Like I like like it's not. It doesn't have any longevity. It doesn't have any meaning.
Yeah.
And not to say that it doesn't work. It's trashy in my opinion. It's a very and it's just happening. It's happening and it's blowing up. You know, people do it. Happens all the time. If anything, I think like shit like that is what's fucking up our society as a whole. And I can't partake. If anything, my way of not partaking in that with the ideas and the drive and like I would say the talent that I have and my team has, my way of like just fighting against that is to come out with something that's like polar opposite or
Right.
just maybe it's not even polar opposite. It's just we're just gonna do. We just don't need to do that.
Right. That's a different level of energy, higher
Yeah,
vibration.
higher vibration, and just to prove, not even to prove, but just to show like we don't need to have cleavage and debauchery
To sell,
all
yeah.
about to sell, you know. But so yeah, and I kind of see it as a perpetual like machine, like you know the perpetual motion machines where they get like the 2 or 3 pails of water and then they make it so that it just never ends and
Right.
whatnot. That's what archived human is to me, and like that's my formula right now. It's like okay, I approach people that I know because over time I spent a lot of time getting into the scene myself, getting underneath that rock because I had a clothing line. I had multiple clothing lines, and in the beginning phases, I would go to the pop up shops. I would go to these house shows. I would shake hands with hella people, and just network naturally. Though it wasn't even really networking. It was just being in the same room with people that had the same passion. You know.
Right.
Um, and then over time, it's been literally almost 10 years now. We're now approaching 8, and a lot of the people, everyone's kind of established themselves, but like the love is still there. So I'm just taking that respect that people have for me as the guy that's like has the shirts and he's selling shirts and he's doing this and he's doing a brand. The people that had that respect for me and fucked with me off of that, I'm just paying it back. I'm paying it back and in a way of like just putting them on a platform which they're and that's where the perpetual like motion machine comes in, where it's like okay, these people already have a fan base. They already have people that rock with them just off of the strength of them being an artist, their music, yada yada yada. So if I just give the people that already want more of them more to look at, it'll happen on its own.
Right.
So I would say my job on the team right now, I don't film. I just do. I do the editing because I
Okay.
because I do all the editing, but I also find the events. You know, like I'm the one that's like on Instagram, scouring Instagram for the most part and looking for these events to go to. So that's my job right now. And what I like about it is the content creates itself. It
Right.
just creates itself, and like that's the best part about it. Like it's not much. It's not much of an energy put out on my part, aside from like being ready to interview somebody and make it look good and make it sound good.
Well, editing
Um,
videos is pretty labor intensive, but
And you know, I'm gonna be honest, like I've literally just got into it in the last. I mean, I've edited like I remember when we used to make music and shit. Like I used to just edit like shit on Windows,
movie
movie,
maker.
and like that was just very crude nonsense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This I'm using CapCut now, which CapCut is the most beautiful program ever
Yeah.
because I literally have like Premiere on this damn computer and I don't even need it. I don't need
Yeah.
that right now. Mostly because with the interview style, it's like it's very raw, so like there's no color correction needed or anything. It's just straight up just clips. We got the super hard light going on them, and I've just now been learning how to edit, and it's really fun. You're right. It is intensive, and especially doing this like new reel format, this new like
Yeah.
quick. That is probably the hardest part of trying to create a narrative in 1 minute. You know what I mean?
No,
From beginning,
100%.
middle to end.
If anybody knows, it's
um,
me.
yeah, absolutely. So that's probably the hardest part. But besides that, I'm loving it. I really, it's really so like my homie who did like last night. He was like, "Oh yeah, there's like these AI reel maker things," and I'm like,
Gross.
I'm like exactly. I hate those. I hate those. And I couldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. And the reason why is because there's an art to editing, and people have a style of editing. And I didn't look up any videos on how to use CapCut. I just took what I knew from movie because I know how anyone cutting film or cutting a video clip is like the easiest shit. Once
Yeah.
you know how to just snip some shit, you're basically golden, and you just gotta like figure everything else around that. But yeah, it's
Like,
it's it's.
would you consider yourself a movie buff? Like,
I haven't. I would say yes and no. I do enjoy watching a good movie.
yeah.
I just
Like, do you
I just
appreciate the art of it?
Yes, I absolutely do. I would say
Yeah. So
legit.
if that's the case, then when you get into editing videos, it's kind of easy because you're like emulating the stuff that you've seen. You know what I mean in movies, and you using that, I guess, inspiration to make things. It, I watch movies
Absolutely.
all day.
See, I gotta get better at being more open to just watching any movie. To be honest, like I haven't watched the last movie I watched was, and it was really bad too. It was really bad. Like it wasn't that bad. It was The Flash, and it wasn't horrible, but I definitely I think movies got really fucked up for me when I started like being a creative and whatnot, and like, 'cause me and the homies, we've always been making shit. Like we've always been like cutting shit together. We've always
Yeah.
been doing that. So when I really got into that, it just got really fucked up for me because I started to just see through it. I started to just see through the movies, and it was really hard for me to become immersed. But so like, I would say a movie that I really enjoyed. I mean, a movie that like I actually take inspiration from, and like everything about it is like it would have to be the first Twilight movie, no cap. Like I know that sounds like not like as like movie buff, but
Yeah.
like I'm telling you, that first movie just like it's just so good. Like it's so good just from like start to finish, and just like all the, and I really look at angles and shit.
Yeah.
I think there's something that I like to do. I like to like watch movies in still angles.
Right.
um, but it was cool. I would say like I kind of got into my director bag a little bit with my homie's music video called "Waste No Life." It hasn't come out yet, but that was me. Just like I remember, we got really inspired. I got really inspired because my homie has like a Joker tattoo.
Okay. So the
So we,
Batman.
so we, yeah. So we basically recreated the Dark Knight, the one that the Joker's in with Heath Ledger.
Yeah, Heath Ledger.
We literally like recreated like all those kind of iconic scenes with the homie in a way that like you wouldn't necessarily notice unless you knew. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's the type of shit that like I'm like a spoof director. I love taking shit and just like spoofing it in my own way.
I heard that. So now that we talked about archive, you mean break it down for me in a way. So like, yeah, like what does it mean, like in general, like the title.
Okay. So it's kind of a two part, but it goes into one where archived is I'm not I don't have, like I'll definitely have to source the definition, but more
Right.
so in like a context idea. So archive is where like the fashion comes from, where there's a whole niche in the fashion world of archived clothing, pieces that won't ever come out. Like for example, this is like kind of like a hype beast example, but there's a brand called Mason Margiela, right?
Okay.
Mason Margiela is a very, very big brand, very, very classic, old, has a lot of history, yada yada yada. Very intricate too, like with their everything. But one of their shirts cost $16,000,
It's crazy.
and this is a shirt, and the reason, and it's literally a white button down with like lipstick kisses all over the collar and like the front and like the beginning, like the top of it. And the reason why it's $15,000 is because only 50 of them were made. And this shirt came out in like, I'm gonna say like between like 99 and like '02.
Yeah.
So like that's an example of like an archived piece where like
that sucks that 90 and 92 has to be vintage.
I know, but I know, but the thing is, archive is like the step before vintage.
Okay.
And if anything, I think archive is only really pertains to like higher end goods,
Okay.
goods that have like that can withhold their value, and that's why I think if honestly I think vintage and archive like they don't even really mix, you know.
Right.
But so archive is just the idea of maintaining the value of an item by just that's from the past, and then you have the human part. That's where it all comes together. Where archived human is basically my way of documenting people that have made ripples in their community, their immediate area, the world, like the society. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it goes underappreciated, I would say, how there's competition, but if because like I would say the one thing that makes me want to create more than anything is seeing other people create. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
So that to me is what the essence truly of archived human are the people that are doing things that are causing those ripple effects, and that's just how the cookie crumbles. You know what I mean? That's how everything is basically made. That's how niggas made cars. One dude made it, and now we got a dude over here trying to make one too. You feel me? This, second, and third. So like that way of human interaction is so underlooked. We don't call somebody great until like
they're the only they're like number fucking one. You feel me?
Yeah.
But I think the real unique part about that process is those beginning stages, and I don't even and like archived human was like a word I came up for myself for me like a way to describe like my relationship with my community and whatnot was because I was making clothing. I was one of the few doing it, with just trying to go hard and putting myself out there. Um, and in doing so, I remember the moment my shit started to pop, I'm starting to see brand over there, brand over there, brand over there. And I think at first I was a little just a little
Yeah.
jaded towards it. It took me a little bit to realize that that's just naturally how things go because it's not so much as so and so is doing this because I'm doing it. It's more so me doing it gave them the courage to do so. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's a good way to look at it because you could also look at it like, oh well, this person thinks that because I did it, they could do it. You know what I mean? And like somebody looks at me and says, oh, if that person can do it, I could do it. You know what I mean? And you kind of feel like, oh, well, these dudes think they could do, or these people think they could do better than me. And but nah, I like the way you think about that too, is because like you want to be the spark of the change or the spark of the culture. Like you said, like there wouldn't be any culture if somebody didn't start it.
Hmm. 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 And right now, Arizona doesn't have anything like archived human. Like we literally, it's either like I was saying before, it's the fools over there in Old Town, fucking asking about endeavors and all bullshits and
Yeah,
body counts, and that's it. Or it's kind of like a more like okay, we're all a part of. Let's record this for ourselves, and then like we're gonna drop it for our people and what you know what I mean.
yeah,
Archived human is like a town square. It's like for people to pull up and just see everything. It's like a virtual museum. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
so and not only and the museum is actually great. I never even thought about it. I think seeing it like that has changed my mind just now, just because
yeah.
that's really what it is. It's that cordial energy. It's that gallery feel. You know what I mean?
So
That's what I'm
Archive Human could be like a live museum.
live museum. And just really, really emphasizing a lot of people in the city, and because I was saying before, you ask an average person in Arizona that you know, you just ask the average person in Phoenix, oh, like is Phoenix cool? They're gonna tell you that there's not shit going on in Phoenix.
Yeah,
They're gonna tell you that. And for a long time, a lot of us thought that. You know what I mean? A lot of us thought that way. And then once I seen how like close knit and how niche the Phoenix scene is and like the art that comes out of it and the creativity, once I seen that, I like totally I don't even like saying that anymore because in reality there is a lot going on over here. For example, episode 1 that we did it hasn't dropped yet, but episode 1 we went to a magazine release, and this was just and I know the people that are a part of this group. The magazine was called Envy Mag, and it's like a more alternative group of people, like very like alt almost. I'm not yeah very alternative, and these were just like young people that had a camera and they really liked and they had a creative spark,
right.
we go to this magazine release. It's not no rinky dink nonsense. It's literally at a gallery. They got a freaking little bar going. There's like a cool maybe 80, 90 people in there. And everyone, and like they got the magazines all against the wall. And I'm like, wow, like this is so official. This is good. Like I like this. And the magazine wasn't rinky dink. It was a full on paperback, glossy paper magazine. I'm like, wow, like imagine saying like, "Oh, Arizona's not on shit," and then homie down the street just dropped his own magazine. You know
Right.
what I mean? So like, really trying to highlight that because it doesn't. It goes unnoticed. It genuinely goes unnoticed, um, and it kind of messes up. It kind of puts a bad stain on Arizona when because there is like a club culture. There is like a club culture, and
but that's not all of what Arizona is.
Right.
It's not. And there's so much talent that's like bubbling in Arizona. And at this point, I've taken the back seat on being the designer, being like one of the people that are doing this, that, and the third. My whole thing now is just to document what is going on in real time, as well as putting people on a platform, all in one space. Because everyone, it does get a little clicky. It gets a little
Oh yeah.
click like, you know what I
I
mean?
think that's everywhere. And you gotta think. I
Everywhere
think you're making this platform for people that didn't have it, like yourself, when you were coming up.
type shit.
Yeah.
Like, and it's very clicky, right? So, but like out of my like immediate people of my friends, I would say I'm the only like one of my friends that I really like my bros for real, or one of few that is genuinely like tapped in like into the scene that I'm talking about.
Right.
So, being that I want to take that, so like I live in like downtown. All my friends live on one side of town. I live on one side of town. So I go out by myself, and it works because I'm pretty much good with everybody. Like I'm good
Mm.
with everybody. Like I'm good with people in all different, like you got your rappers for real that be on like the lean and all that crazy shit. I'm cool with a couple of them. I can pull up on them and be like, "Hey, can I interview you?" You know what I mean?
Right.
I can pull up to the more like alternative kind of like hipster, da, 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 da. I can pull up on them too because I'm cool with them too. You know what I mean? So being this kind of like almost chameleon in the scene, um, where I've been able to like shake hands with a lot of people and make good business relationships with a lot of people, from different perspectives and different sides of town. All this, it has now I'm trying to take that. I'm trying to take that like that mutual respect,
Right.
and use it as my ticket into a couple doors where all I want to do is just put everybody in the same place so that the kind of like more gang kind of like like the harder core rap people don't feel completely alienated from the alternative kind of music
Right.
art scene and vice versa, you know what I mean? Just bringing it all together into one place.
Right.
And it's not because and the goal of it isn't for everybody to be best friends. It's just for everybody to know what the fuck's going on in the city. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You know what I mean? So that's the ultimate goal, is to really just bring everything together in a curated way, though, in a curated way. Um, the second event that we went to, episode 2, and it's cool. Like we've been filming, and I've been still waiting for the Instagram name to change. I've been still waiting for that. So we've been filming, and then I've just been editing the whole time. Just
Yeah.
going to film. We don't have any Instagram accounts. Just filming, getting as many interviews as possible. So we have so right now I would say we have like a solid like two. If I posted like once a day, or maybe once every 2 days, we have like a solid 2 weeks of content, 2 3 weeks of like individual content. I would almost say a month, honestly. And that's just and like I don't have to film any like if I didn't film anymore, I would still be able to. I have so many interviews that I still have to edit. I've only edited like 3,
Yeah.
and so we're good for right now. But so the second event that we went to was a fashion show, which was really fun. I really enjoyed that. It was really dope,
Yeah.
and we went there. It was in Phoenix. We talked to a bunch of people. It was actually really cool because the homie that owns the smoke shop, he kind of sponsored the event by having it at his smoke shop, which was really dope. You don't see that too often. And then the next, and this is just kind of my example of like the curated events that we go to, because the main goal is to just maintain that cordialness.
Right.
So the next event that we're going to this weekend is there's actually a gallery opening up literally right down the street from my apartment, and we're gonna go there and just do our thing.
Yeah.
Do our thing.
Speaking
But
speaking of fashion, man, I wanted to ask um what does fashion mean to you in general?
Fashion to me is expressing yourself, being exactly who you want to be, whereas you're also living in the moment. Because I think that what isn't fashion is not living in the moment. I would say, and this isn't like to like this is just a general statement. This is my general opinion.
Yeah.
I would say, okay, I don't buy certain clothes because I'm not buying them because I like them. I'm buying them because when someone sees me in them later, they're gonna rock with me. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? That's not living in the moment. That is
Living in the
buying a
future.
pair of shoes for the sake of people knowing you have those shoes. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Or so I would kind of boil that down to like, okay, so like the Panda Dunks, like this is like the worst shit I've ever fucking seen in my life. That isn't fashion. Like, I wouldn't like one of the rules that I have on for Archive Human is we don't know, like we don't interview people
With
that
pandas.
are wearing those. Like and like put that on. I'll put that on the record. Like absolutely, like we don't. And the reason why is because that's not fashion. Like that's putting on some shit that you don't necessarily like. Or no, it's kind of like this idea of like, do you really like what you like, or do you like how it was presented to you? You know
Right.
what I mean? That you can really tell when that's happening. You know what I
Right.
mean?
When people are
You
just
can
doing it
literally,
because it's popular, not because it's.
it's them.
Yeah.
And I would say fashion to me. I mean, I'm very particular. I'm very particular. We're like, okay, I buy. I've gotten to the point in my life where I don't buy graphic tees. I buy like blank shit.
Yeah.
Like I have this distressed All Saint sweater that is literally just a wool, like it's just wool, and it's literally just has a distressed collar in the sleeves and the bottom hem. I love that fucking sweater that to fucking death.
Yeah.
And the reason why is just because I don't. It's just so understated, but it also has like the details. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I bought that because it's a timeless piece. I'll be able to wear that when I'm 38. You know what I mean? I'll
Right.
be able to wear that when I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's just a timeless piece. So like, I have a theory, right? I have a theory about how, and again, this is just a general statement. You ever heard the term like dad swag?
Yeah.
I have a theory as to how that comes about. So basically, how that comes about is you have your like guy that buys Nike SB Panda Dunks, whatever, and then goes and buys like a gallery department tee, or just kind of buy like the graphic tee. So like me personally, I stopped wearing graphic tees because that's how dad swag comes about, and the reason why is because once you kind of reach a certain age, you're kind of like, oh, I don't want to wear these graphic tees anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want to wear these graphic tees, but I don't have anything else. Okay, so now I'm gonna go and get some shit from Old Navy. You get what I'm saying? If
Right.
that makes sense. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, like, I feel like that's how it would happen. Like, that's the pipeline. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I think
Where,
I think the reason why dads like have a dad swag is just because like they get to a point in life where um other stuff matters more than fashion. You know what I mean? So
I
like,
agree.
and it might have just took like, all right, I got a wife and I have kids. So my first priority is to make sure that they're good. So you go ahead and you make sure your wife is happy. You make sure your kids are happy. You make sure your house is together. The last thing you want to do is get dressed when you know you're gonna have to mow the grass at 5
Yeah,
p.m.
I
You know what I
agree.
mean, when the sun goes down. So like, yeah, that's why it comes to. It's not a. It's a lazy way to get dressed, but be prepared for all like occasions for being a dad. And I don't know. It's kind of like my
That's
idea.
true. It's literally being a ready for all occasions. I think
I mean, that's how
that
the
is
Jesus
why.
sandals. The Jesus sandals, man. Dad slip them
Yeah,
on, be good.
yeah, good. They can do anything. They can run, hop a wall, mow the grass, all that. Dragon shit. But I think at this point, that's why I do what I do, because I don't know. I don't have that. I mean, obviously, like I'm not, I don't have like a family to take care of, none of that stuff like that. So it's like, but that's why I do what I do, and that's
Yeah,
why I feel so good about it. Is just because like I don't know, like that's something that I've always prioritized. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And it's not even necessarily it's a priority. I just I think when I was a kid, I just was like, bro, I want all my clothes to be cool. I want to wear all cool clothes one day, and that was just something that I just wanted to do, and like it's something that I looked up to when I was like watching like ASAP Rocky and shit, and like Tyler the Creator, like early fucking days and shit like that, like, and I'm just getting into like Supreme and Diamond and all that shit, and I'm just super influenced. But at this point, that's why I feel good about this is because even I feel like even if I was in that situation, my brain would still find a way. Like it would still find a
No,
way.
no, for sure, for sure. If it's something that you really focused on, like obviously most of these people probably were never focused on fashion. I guarantee you'll find an outlet, whether it's going to church or whether it's every time you go to your job, that's when you step your swag up and you start dressing fashionably for certain occasions. But I don't know. I think it's super important as somebody who's into fashion to always be prepared to dress well, and somebody who's just trying to be presentable to the world. Like, even though you're going to Walmart to go grab a couple, things of fruit, you still don't want to just throw on sweatpants. You want to at least look presentable because you never know who you're going to walk into. You never going to know who you're going to walk up to. So yeah, man, I think that's where if that's in your blood, if that's in your DNA, then I don't think it'll ever leave.
Yeah, and now and I'm where I'm at now, and I'm just and I have fun with it. It's like something that I like to do. It's
Yeah,
something that I like to do. It's just I like shit that I like, and like I can't compromise. I'm not big on compromising on that. But something that I think knowing fashion has like really helped me with my like confidence and shit like that. Because for a long time, we were like I would say like my generation like or just in general like we were taught incorrectly how to dress. I'm saying like more so like a general way where like I was buying larges for a long ass time. I was buying like this, that, and the third for a long ass time, thinking I'm fly or whatever. But I'm like, wait, this shit doesn't even fit my body right. You know what I mean?
I was in 4X tall tees, my bro.
But
145
that was a
pounds.
different time. That was a different time. That was when like I don't know, like fashion didn't like when the whole when the like things started to get slim. The moment like skateboarding and hip hop kind of merged,
Yeah, I would agree.
like
Yeah,
that streetwear
ripped
kind of
jeans.
vibe.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
ripped
that's when
jeans and
shit got
Vans.
slim. Mhm. Mhm. I got my
Yo,
Vans on, but they look like sneakers type shit.
how you feel about sneakerheads?
I think
And
sneakerheads are brainwashed as the most brainwashed people in the universe. I can break it down into detail. It just depends on what sneakers you're talking about. Like, are we talking about like Jordans and shit and Nikes? Hell yeah! Like, and I'm not even finna say like the corny shit of like, oh, it's the same shoe but different colors. Like, no, it's way deeper than that. And the reason why it's way deeper than that. And like, I mean, I'll break it down to you like one of the recent situations. Okay, person that's on the board of Nike gets caught up because her son was using her credit card to buy hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pairs of shoes and
resale.
then resell them. Right? The kids posted pictures of a warehouse with like 350, 1,000 pairs of shoes in it. Right?
Yeah,
Cool. So on the surface level, that just seems like oh news headline. That's
right.
crazy. You know what I mean? The mom ends up quitting or whatever just because for the sake of whatever. But I'm like, okay, you guys, that's not at all what happened. What happened was Nike buys their shoes when they release them
Yeah.
because the resale market from sneakerheads, what they created, if you can, if somebody can take your $180 product, and then sell it for $500, you're gonna tell me that they don't want to cut in that
Oh yeah.
and they're just like, all right, it's cool, yeah, yeah, yeah. They don't want to cut in that. Hell no, they want to cut in that, and they already have it. So what did Nike do? Reselling got big. They started to come out with like they started to focus on that kind of culture, that resale culture, right? That sneakerhead culture, and then they come out with the app, the sneakers app.
Yeah.
Okay, that's literally them directly controlling the distribution of a product for the sake of the resale,
Right.
where everything is raffles, everything is like this, that, you got to do this, that, and the third. That's them controlling it because now they know. Now they know how to do it. Cool. So my theory is that Nike is selling the same shoe twice, where they sell it for 180 retail, and then they buy them all back, like, which we seen. They buy them all, and then they go and they have some middleman ass mule resell them like
Yeah.
that secretly, and now they just made an extra $300 on the same shoe that they just sold for $180.
Right.
So at this point, I think that the sneakerhead thing is stupid. It's dumb. It doesn't make sense to do it anymore. It's been completely taken over by the corporations, and um, people are just buying the same shoe twice, and it sucks. That's sad. I'd rather not. Like me personally, I'm just gonna show this. This is the best shoe ever, and I know these are expensive shoes, but this is the greatest shoe of all time. This is the Rick Owens Dark Shadow Ramon. I'm telling you, you buy one of those pairs of shoes, you don't. This is like 3 or 4 pairs of shoes in one. Meaning that like you buy one of those, you don't need anything else. Like they're so straightforward. They're so they just go with everything. They're heavy duty as fuck. Like and they just keep you cooling. Like you don't need anything else. And I recommend everyone buy a pair of those because that is to me is the best shoe. And you don't
What's
need to
retail?
have the retail on a pair of those are around $780. It just depends. It kind of fluctuates. There's some that are like depends. Like I have, I think these are the denim ones. These are made of denim or not canvas, but this is kind of like the base price of like one of those, and that's the
Yeah.
high top. Where like I have a low top pair that was like maybe $700 after tax,
Yeah.
but nonetheless,
Comfort level.
those. Sorry,
Comfort level.
comfort level, solid like 7 out of 10. And the
Okay.
reason why is because the shoe itself is a shoe that you're supposed to break in, like
Okay.
intentionally, and it loosens up. Like the materials are made to break in and
Okay.
like loosen up and age and yellow, like the patina on the sole is. So 7 out of 10, I would say this is a shoe that you want to wear like a thin sock with. You know what I mean? Like a little. Like you go buy you a pair like of go buy a pair of like church socks or some shit,
Yeah.
and you're straight. But I think that that's a great shoe. That's a shoe worth being a sneakerhead about. I just don't think that all the Nikes and shit are. It's really worth being a sneakerhead. I just don't think that they're not that cool
Yeah.
anymore.
I'm a huge 350 Boost fan. Um, huge
I
350
think
Boost.
my issue with the Yeezys was it just got really hectic really fast. Or am I tripping?
No, I mean you're probably right. I mean like the whole back like I guess the whole backstory behind it and all the anti-Semitic things that kind of drug. That's not
And
what
I
you're talking.
mean, and I mean like more so the idea of like when they first popped, it was like super cool, and the next thing you know, there's like 50 other pairs of them, and you don't even know what color you got anymore, and like there's like 70 different variations of like all these different colors.
Yeah.
It just got it got super. It just got really hectic for me. It was hard for me to follow, like
That's I mean
genuinely
that's
hard for me to
that's cool
follow.
too. But I'm like 100% 10 out of 10 comfort. Um, and just like ease to wear with everything. For me. It's just all right. I put a pair on, and I didn't expect that. You know, it
Uh-huh.
blew my mind how comfortable they were. And then not only that, they're pretty stylish, bro. Like I said, you can wear them with a lot of stuff. And I don't know, man. That's just me. I'm all about like as I get older, the more comfortable the shoe, the better for me.
I think my issue is that I'm like the type of person that like I used to never wear Converse. And it's funny that I wear Rick Owens now because they look like Converse.
Yeah,
But
for sure they
I
do.
used to never wear Converse because like what you said?
Yeah, they do.
I used to never wear Converse because I was the type of guy that like I don't know. It took me a while to grow into my feet,
Yeah,
so I'd wear Converse, and them bitches would look like clown shoes on me. You feel
yeah,
me?
100%.
So like when I wear Yeezys, I feel the same exact fucking way, bro. I feel like they just look really long on me. So I don't know, but I do fuck with Yeezys as a whole. Like there's a couple models that I really really like the desert rats. There's just so many different types that it's really
Yeah,
hard to follow, and that's where the headache comes from for me is just
yeah,
how hard it is to follow. Genuinely,
yeah, man. So like, pretty much, talking about brands and like I think the funny part is, you know how I come out to Phoenix like frequently, and I was just wearing like back in the day I was wearing ugly, and it was funny because like we don't like really necessarily hang out in the same circle. but somebody was like, "Yo, where you get that shirt from?" Like I know that I know the guy, or I know that brand. I've seen people wearing that before, and that was just dope to see because like you're my cousin, bro. So like to from me looking at you, it's just whatever you're doing, and that's all I know it from. But to see it in your environment, and to see like how big you were doing, like it just made me super proud of you. But knowing that you've been able to do certain things within your realm and your scope and through your scope, being within Arizona, and just seeing other people come up in the same way that you've done it, or trying to implement their own thing. What makes a brand, and then what makes a brand just merch.
Yeah, let me tell you about that. Let me tell you like a parallel. Because I had the same situation with you when you were doing like the when you were making the drinks
Yeah,
and everything. And I told you this, I think, but I remember I was at work and my coworker was like, he was getting really into like the cooking thing too, but like
yeah,
on a more like YouTube kind of thing, like, oh, I'm gonna have a wide angle shot of me like cooking in the whole room.
yeah.
But you were doing like that zoomed in, like aesthetic, like almost ASMR type, and he showed me your reels, and I'm like, that's my cousin. And then my coworker's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, the name, like the last name." And he's like, "Oh, like this was like a year ago." So I remember that happening, and I was like, "Yeah, that's my cousin. He's up. He's doing his thing and shit, bro." And like that was just like this is like not even someone like I hang out with. This is someone like I was working with. Like you
Yeah,
feel me? So, like I definitely had, and I was really proud to be your cousin, bro, in that moment. Cause I'm
that's
like,
crazy.
yeah, bro, like super proud of you. But what makes a brand? I think what makes a brand is I think it's and I think it's better to explain that in the context of like brands that I fuck with in my realm,
Yeah,
where it's like I think what makes a brand is thought. If what I'm looking at is making me think, there's something there. There's something because that's the first door you got to get through. Is just what you're doing having depth. So I think something like that is very important. I think what like, and I'm looking at this as a very like you could write a book about this shit, or I could write a book about this shit. Then like my first thing is like the name. Like if the name doesn't like is if it's not like if it don't roll off the tongue in like a certain way, it's a done deal. Like I'm done. You know what I mean?
right.
Like I'm done. Like I'm not gonna rock with it to that extent just because it doesn't. You already kind of like stopped yourself already kind of really soon by not thinking about it a little bit harder. For example, I had a brand called Ugly USA, and it got to a point where people, I didn't coin the term, but people would be like, "Oh, you have that brand called Ugly?" You know what I
Yeah,
mean? One word. You know what I mean? I was just like, "Yeah, yeah," and like that to me was like the first like lesson I learned about like branding is like that name. That name is so fucking important. Um, I would say being loyal to your brand, like be proud of your product to the point where you're not trying to put your product in proximity of other things for the sake of that being more this, that, and the third. You know what I mean? Be really proud of your product because it really shows when someone's not. You know what I mean?
right.
Or at least like when they when they're not committed to what they're doing. And what I mean by that is just going at it super hard without using prepackaged shit. Like, for example, there's this one person, there's this little thing going on in AZ where like, bro would like basically go on Etsy, get fake like prints, like fake fabric from different brands, and then sew that shit on like an Air Force One swoosh.
Yeah,
Okay, I get it. Okay, yes, for surface level, shit's fire. Whatever, right? I
right.
wouldn't I wouldn't partake me personally, but I get it. Surface level the shit's fire. Whatever. But think about what you're doing. You're taking two things that have already been packaged and presented, and now you're taking the wrappings of the package and then wrapping that up. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so none of that really screams you. None of it really leaves your mark. It's just pre-packaging things that people already like because you know they're gonna like them. That to me
is not a brand. It's a service.
Right.
It's like waxing someone's car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like comparable. And then my last thing, I think, what differentiates a brand from merch, or I think a problem that people have is like they involve themselves a little too much. I think that what I really liked about my brand was I didn't tell anyone. No one knew who I was. Like no one, like the person that approached you was probably someone like that I either met before, shook their hand, or we follow each other on Instagram in some which way, shape, or form. But I know like that was someone that's probably closer to me than a lot of other people that indulged at that time. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because for them to even say that they know that guy is like that's like a flag for me where I'm like, oh okay, that has to be someone that like I've probably seen in the last year. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Just because I kept it anonymous, and the reason why I kept it so anonymous was because I didn't want people to fuck with my brand because of me. I wanted them to just fuck with the brand. So when you kind of put yourself in there, in my opinion, you're giving yourself a lot, you're giving people a lot to commit to. For example, there was a brand where the name of the brand was a street in Arizona, and the street in Arizona is like one of the roughest streets in Arizona, literally
Okay.
horrible. And me personally, I like I felt like the brand it was cool, but I'm like, okay, bro, like how could this go further when you've already like put yourself in a box
Right.
by so now you're just making merch for the city at this point, or at least not even
Grove
the
Street.
city. From yeah, imagine a shirt that said fucking Grove Street on it, dead ass. Like it's basically that. And I was just like, okay, like you put yourself in a box. I feel like Ugly USA was not in a box. It was
Yeah.
like a freaking. It was I don't even know how to describe it, but it wasn't in a box. But I think that at the time when I made it, that whole like idea, what that meant was like really popping, like this anti thing that was going on.
Yeah.
Um, so just being a little bit too self involved in the situation, or at least involving yourself, is what makes it merge. Because now the people that you want to support you, the people that are a part of your grind, they're committed. Like you're making them commit to your face, and like that's not fair, bro.
Right.
That's not fair because you can't expect them to want to wear your face to the club. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's just not fair. So like that's just a big issue or something that can kill a brand. Is just being too involved. Necessary Evil, nobody knew who the fuck that was. I was like, I literally revealed my face the other night or the other day for the first time ever on that account, just off some willy nilly shit. And the real reason why I did that was because I was soon gonna change the account to Archived Human, and
Right.
the people on that account that followed me had never seen. So they were gonna go from like seeing a bunch of random people, like people that I had model and shit,
Yeah.
and people that they fucked with and all this shit, and then they were gonna go from that to just me doing interviews. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I was like, let me like put my face on there once, real quick, just to like plant that seed of like, oh, this is who's behind that. And the reason why I know that it had an effect was I had shorties that I used to rock with that we may have not gone on like we may have not got off on the best foot that followed that account that had no clue that I was running it.
Yeah.
Like no clue. So I post myself up for the first time ever, and I get a couple of follows. You get what I'm saying? So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, cool. Like that's not what I wanted specifically. And the only reason why I say a couple of follows is because I know that I was very I saw that this shorty that followed me and shit, and I was like, oh wow. So but the thing is, it was funny because shorty would like the pictures and shit when because I would like I'm telling you I'm able to shake hands with a lot of people out here, and I've shook hands with a lot of people. So like, it's I've gotten to like this one random girl that I had relations with 2 or 3 years ago, 2, 3, 4 years ago almost. Her friend is in one of my shoots, right? So she's fucking with the brand just because her friend's in it, but she doesn't even know that I know like her friend,
Yeah.
and which then so like I was just and so that energy of being able to like low key like a random girl that just has nothing to do with the brand, but she felt kind of like emotionally provoked by seeing me on the shit. That was enough for me to know that like I got reach. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And Arizona is not the biggest of places, but there's a lot of people here. So it being not that big and a lot of people, you someone that you know knows someone that you know. You know
Right.
what I mean? That's just the deal. It happens with everything. You go out, you're gonna see somebody you know. It's like a running joke out here. So that being said, Necessary Evil was completely anonymous, like the most anonymous, more anonymous than Ugly USA, I would say, up until the very end. And then, so now I'm going to from a totally different approach where I didn't want to be on the front end. I didn't want to be the spotlight. I just wanted to make content and have it go. Because once you make your shit anonymous, it's easier for people to like it and attach themselves to it
Right.
because they don't know where it came from. Prime example, the moment that Shorty knew that I was associated with this brand, she wasn't fucking with it no more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which to me is it's what I'm saying in real life. It's like it's that's the only reason why I'm bringing it up because it's a real world example
Yeah.
of what I'm saying. And then another reason why I kept it anonymous is because when you got a random person from New York, they might like or wherever Wyoming, wherever the fuck, they might see that and it being like ambiguous as to the source of this content being very ambiguous, completely ambiguous, is a up because that person from wherever the fuck doesn't. That person could think in a weird way that brand is from their city,
Right.
and they might fuck with it because they think it's from their city because the algorithm pushed it to them,
Yeah.
and like now they got it on their feed and shit. So like that to me was always a plus. So that's what I think. If anyone was like really, if anyone wanted to know, don't start a brand. Don't model for yourself. One, don't ever model for yourself.
Yeah.
Always have other models because it's tacky. It's a tacky thing to do to model for yourself, in my opinion. I don't do it. I've never done it. I've paid models. I've paid photographers. I've done that just for the sake of I'm not the one to model for myself. Um, but yeah, I would my tip to anybody: keep your shit anonymous. Because when you keep it anonymous, it can be anything. The possibilities are endless. Once you get yourself involved,
It
not
becomes
you're
merch.
probably it becomes merch, becomes merchandise. It becomes like, but and what's fucked up is what is this person even doing to have merchandise?
Right.
So that's the meat, like that's the elephant in the room. Like, what are you even doing to have merchandise? You
Right.
know, so eventually it just becomes like, so yeah. Nonetheless, ambiguity and ambiguous nature will keep the ideas flowing, and you'll be able to just do whatever you want, not feel boxed in. You won't have creative block as hard because like there's nothing attaching you. You're not worried about, oh, what are people gonna think about this, that, and the third. Like, you're not worried about the number of likes because no one knows who's behind this. You
Right.
know, it's its own entity.
Well, shoot, man. Like I said, I really appreciate you getting us all hip about Archive Human, and we looking forward to probably seeing some more content really soon. Um, where are you gonna be at? YouTube?
So I'm thinking of doing this new thing. I mean, it's not new. People do this all the time, but like keeping it like full Instagram, like only Instagram.
Only Instagram?
Yeah. But I'm gonna get into YouTube. It's just we don't really have long form content right now.
Yeah, you don't. I
Like,
think YouTube has shorts too.
yeah. So YouTube Shorts is probably the way to go. It is. So that's the plan. Instagram first, then my first plan. I have some interviews with some rappers or people that are out here that are some artists, I would say, that are like a cool 5 minute, like 2.5 minute, almost 3 minute long interviews. So I'm gonna be like, okay, here's the reel on Instagram, and then a couple days later, full unedited interview.
Right.
So it'll be on YouTube, Archived Human. That's ArchivedHuman, Archived Human, and then On Instagram, it'll be ARCHIVEDHUMAN Archived Human, and this is all dropping on the 15th. So right now, it is ambiguous. I'm just posting it. Nobody has any clue what the fuck's going on, and I love that.
Yeah.
I love the like disarray. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
that disarray causes people to want to know. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's a good formula. I think we cracked it so far. Like we got the formula right now. It's just about applying it.
100%, man.